to play. This is Let Your Voice Be Heard, right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. So this is Let Your Voice Be Heard, where we talk politics, social issues, and pop culture from our very diverse and very Black perspectives. My name is Selena Hill, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Selena Hill with an MS. I'm super happy to be here. Stanley is even happier because he's not here. He's in Puerto Rico, living it up and drinking. Shout out to Avant Drummer, who gives us greetings via Facebook Live. So, Stanley's not here, but I do have some very special people in studio with me, starting with Evan, the host and co-founder of Let's Not Be Trash. Evan, introduce yourself.
Well, Selena, thank you for having me again. I think it's the fourth time that I've been lucky enough to be on Let Your Voice Be Heard. It's a great time each one. Yes, I'm co-founder of Let'sNotBeTrash.com and the co-host of the podcast, Let's Not Be Trash. And you can find me on Instagram at _Mastronardi.
Great. Alex, what's up?
Nah, it's Alex Turner. What's going on, y'all? One of the hosts of Two Chicks, One Dick podcast.
I don't know if we can say the full title now, but keep it going. FCC is listening. Continue, though.
Also on Instagram, you can find me at Alex Finance NYC. I'm launching my financial coaching business, so anybody who needs help.
You know what?
Budget,
yes.
Save, get yourself out of debt.
I need to learn some more investments.
Talk to me. I really want to help you.
Okay, now. And we also have Naledi, who is here with us. Introduce yourself.
Hey, so I'm Naledi, a.k.a. Slim. I am the creator and founder of Lethal Lips podcast, Lips with a Z, not to be confused with the porn star. So, yeah. I'm a radio personality and a podcast personality. That's that.
I'm so happy that you guys are here. I'm feeling good. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about everything from the fact that you can no longer see likes on Instagram, which is like big. So both Cardi B and Nicki Minaj was talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, I think next week they're starting it.
I think it started today. Yes. So now when you go on Instagram, you cannot see how many people liked other people's stuff.
Yeah, you can only see your own.
I don't care about that.
Yeah. Well, I do, and we're going to talk about it. Yeah. Well, maybe it hit you. Well, you can see
I don't look at what other people like.
Like, yeah, I'm looking at people's page right now. I see likes.
Okay, so maybe it does start.
6:32.
It's going to be starting soon, though. I think by next week it's going to be.
I thought you meant when you go to notifications and then it goes to my stuff and then it automatically goes to what other people like.
Oh, like
that
show
part,
everything you like.
That part I'm going to show you now.
Well, I think they're deleting likes, period.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And then we're also going to be talking about T.I.'s wildly controversial comment. Naledi says she's not here for her face. Says I'm not here for it. So T.I. was just what is going on with your boy?
Wait.
Just a little
boy
snippet.
Is this? Whose man's is that?
That's my man, but he be wildin'.
Yeah, just don't read the first half of what I wrote. Just read the second half.
What did you write, Evan?
Oh, well, I gave a little anecdote about how he was kind of my man's, in the 8th grade, and I gave a funny anecdote. I can't say in full on air out of respect to all the FCC guidelines here, but I did write a piece called "There's No Relationship That Includes Ownership," and I'll get into that later when we get to the topic.
Right.
Sookie now.
Yes, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And guys, let your voice be heard on Facebook.com/Let Your Voice Be Heard. You can chime in there. You can also call us up at 212-650-6903. We definitely want to hear your thoughts about everything that's going on. And then we're going to go into T.I., and that's going to be a really fun discussion. Again, this is Let Your Voice Be Heard, and we will be right back.
His daughter can't have whatever she likes.
And we are back. Speaking of you can have whatever you like, that was a throwback by T.I. We were talking about likes. We were talking about likes during the commercial break and right before we went on break, because apparently you're no longer going to be able to see how many people liked other people's pictures on Instagram. So basically the Instagram president came out and he said, the reason I'm doing this is because it takes less pressure. It's taking the pressure off of young people, because young people, they're insecure, they're in adolescence, and they're constantly comparing themselves and their status towards others. So he said he's going to stop doing that. However, Nicki Minaj, she went on Instagram live yesterday, and she said she thinks they're doing that because of the money situation. Now it's gonna like cost you to actually like in order to like really expand your reach, you're gonna have to like pay for ads and stuff like that. And then Cardi went on, she left a video and she said the real issue with Instagram are the comments, because people leave negative comments, people are constantly trolling others, and they like that. So she said maybe we shouldn't be able to like comment. So Naledi, what do you think about the new Instagram?
Well, what she said about the comments, I don't think the comments are a big deal because you can turn off your comments. So I don't think that's really a big issue. But the likes, I was on both sides too, where like what Nikki said, I do feel like there's something to it where, you know, they're not allowing you the entrepreneurship that people have been able to gain through Instagram, like just based off of likes. Because you can't go based off of followers. That's kind of what we were just discussing, because people pay for followers. So like your likes are what really matters. Same way with YouTube. Now it's really the subscribers that matter, not the views. So I feel like it does add to the insecurity, though, of this generation, where people are obsessed with likes, how many likes you're getting. But if you're able to still see your own likes, what's really the difference then, I should ask?
Well, there are a lot of influencers on Instagram, and the way they're making money is because of all the likes. And people are scouting, brands are scouting them out.
Yeah.
So, like, Alex, I mean, you're the money guy. I mean, if I'm trying to get my influence on, you see, I'm finally growing my page. Now I can't even, like, make money off of this.
I mean, I'm a firm believer if you popping and the product you got to offer the people, ain't nothing going to stop that. If what you bring to the table or you know, your unique angle or the content you bring is worthwhile, people are going to take notice. What's the Instagram comedian's name? I think his name is Zoe. The dude, he does the pole dancing on Fridays.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Zoe. I love Zoe.
Yeah. One of the things that I heard him say in an interview that stuck with me, he was like, he don't watermark or tag none of his pictures. Because he like, my success is going to come. People who see this and they into this, they going to look for me.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way with the likes. If what you got is worthwhile, you feeding the people something good they want, they going to come holler at you.
That's true.
If it's cutting off people money, I understand those who have a gripe. I don't make money off of it per se. I hope to one day, but if it was cutting into my money, I can understand a gripe. But as far as adolescents and how it affects them, people put way too much into it. I feel like people be A-OK being cool on the internet, but them in real life, it's like, what do you got to bring to the table? So I hope it makes people just want to be confident in themselves and say, hey, I'm cool, I'm somebody, no matter what these likes say or don't say.
That's true.
Evan, what is your perception? Do you think it will help young people's self-esteem?
No, I don't think that will matter much. They can still see their own likes. And
that's what I was saying.
There's always something else to be insecure about, because social media itself is a comparison, right? You're still always going to be comparing yourself to people. And I agree with Alex. It's the products that's going to sell. And over time, markets adapt. So if it's not likes anymore, they'll find something else. In fact, it may make different businesses and scouts, whatever, look more at content to some extent because they can't go straight to likes. The analogy I like to think about is sports. You know, there's a time when a certain statistic matters, like in baseball, it used to be batting average. And then over time, it became other statistics. Those athletes still getting paid.
Yeah.
It's just a different statistic, a different metric.
That's true.
Well, I'm sorry, Naledi, did you want to add to that?
No. I was agreeing with him what you first said, though, which is if you can still see your own likes, then either way you're going to still be insecure about something. It's not as if they're getting rid of likes completely. So I think it's more leaning towards them trying to find a different way for Instagram to make profit.
It's going to make a difference because, mind you, you post what you feel is a popping pic, and you see it only gets 3 likes. That's one thing. From it been up for an hour and only 3 people liked it. You gonna be like, look
but you gonna feel some way either way.
Exactly.
You're still gonna feel some type of way.
It's gonna happen either way.
You're gonna be like, damn, I just got 3 likes. No one else can see it, but
nobody
still,
I
feel some type of way.
If nobody else know that, though, you good.
Wow.
If nobody know that, you can lie how many likes you got and broadcast that instead.
Exactly.
And that's why I think brands aren't going to be reaching out.
I don't mean to brag, but 257 likes on the selfie pic at Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah. Saying.
Well, I actually spoke to someone at Instagram, and they told me that if you are an influencer and concerned about affecting your revenue streams, don't worry, because you can still you're still going to have metrics, and you can send that to brands. So Aunt Lewis, Aunt Lewis actually left a comment on our Facebook Live. He said it forces people to be individuals. be, follow, and like things because of its popularity. At least Instagram individual, why do you need to see what others like? So I guess it kind of plays into Instagram's theory, like you don't really need to be seeing what other people are liking. But speaking of what other people are liking, it seems like everyone is liking, actually fiending out for some Popeyes chicken. We know Popeyes they are back selling the crazy chicken sandwich. Raise your hand now if you have had one of those sandwiches.
Oh, God, I'm so
I
guilty.
had one before the craze hit. I was literally in the phase before like social media grabbed it. There's a Popeyes 3 blocks from me.
Right,
I'm walking
125th.
by, I see it right there. I'm like, all right, let me try.
Well, Naledi, did you have to wait on a long line to get your chicken
So
sandwich?
my lines haven't been that obnoxious, but it was looking like family reunions when I would go in there. I'm like, what is this about? Like, why is the whole hood out? But I haven't stayed in a line that was like longer than like 10, 15 minutes. So like anything longer than that though is kind of crazy. I haven't seen like the fights and all the craze that, I don't know, maybe I went to like a more quiet Popeye.
Somebody reportedly died over a Popeyes.
got stabbed.
Oh, they got stabbed. I didn't know they died.
What
Oh,
happened?
they died?
I heard
too?
they got stabbed. I don't know if they did die, but I did hear they got stabbed.
Either way, that's
I'm
wild.
telling you, it's like a really ghetto family reunion.
Evan, what was your experience like getting that chicken?
When I heard it was coming back, because I live in the Bronx, I knew, okay, it's going to be another 3 weeks because we never get things on time. And it sure was. And so I had to wait in line for a while. I did have to wait in line for a while. It was good. I mean, before then, I hate to say it, there was a point where I used to get the KFC sandwich. And then I took a long hiatus. Not the one with the chicken as buns. That's blasphemy. No, I took then a long hiatus from fast food, period, and like for years. And then this came back, and I was like, okay, I'm breaking it tonight. But then, of course, it wasn't there. But it was very good. I don't think it's worth stabbing somebody and catching a case, but it was very good.
That's good.
I think the funniest story I've heard about this, and regardless of the people who've been pulling out guns and those who've actually killing people over the sandwich. So there was this one guy who filed a lawsuit against Popeyes during the first craze for $5,000 because he said he just couldn't get his hands on the sandwich and he has suffered emotional and psychological trauma.
Oh, no.
He said he's been driving around. He said it tore up his car just trying to look for this sandwich.
Wow.
He said he even paid somebody $25 to get him a sandwich from a secret location. That didn't work out. He said he just can't get his mind off this sandwich, and he said that he's filing a lawsuit. But I feel him because think about it. You want what you can't have.
No.
You want what you
Who's
can't
asking
have.
him to get this sandwich?
No.
Nobody's
How
asking
about
him to get
this?
He
Is
could
it-
go home and make his own damn chicken
Is
sandwich.
it that
Exactly.
crazy? He go get a chicken breast and make a sandwich at
Exactly.
home.
I've done it
Is
with
that
fresh
not
that
mozzarella,
hard?
and it's
It's-
10 times better.
Exactly.
He
He
can't
could
bread
get
a
a
chicken
chicken
breast.
tender from Popeyes and
Dip it
put
in
it
some
in some
egg.
bun, and he'll be okay.
This is what he's saying, Alex. He's saying that it's so fun. And I know somebody at my job. He said, honestly, I could relate because he really wanted that sandwich, and he said he couldn't think. It's on your mind
No.
so much.
That's
Guys,
you.
If you're
He
out
don't got enough real life problems.
No, exactly.
He need to get somebody pregnant. He
Yeah.
needs real issues to worry about. If that's his main concern, is this chicken sandwich.
Imagine
bro.
that's the reason for his first child. Man, I couldn't get this sandwich, so I had you. I mean,
He need real problems. He must have a good life
Yeah.
if that's the main.
Yeah,
Not
it has to
rent.
be. It
Not.
has to be.
nobody asking
Yeah.
you to have this fast
Yeah.
food crisis.
And God
Nobody gonna
forbid,
pay
God
you for
forbid,
this.
he went to McDonald's and got something to eat.
Yes.
Listen,
What-
Crown's chicken sandwiches are hitting. All right, he
Shake
can go
Shack
right
got
to
a chicken
Crown's.
sandwich.
Shake
Chick-fil-A
Shack.
got a chicken
Yeah,
sandwich.
like, come
Yeah,
on.
but
locations all over
Chick-fil-A
the
got
place.
other reasons why it has become the challenger.
Well, I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
that there
Yeah.
are other
Yeah.
options, but
I don't know about that.
but just to switch it up, what do you guys think about the fact that people are saying, black people, why don't we get online to vote? Because remember, we had a local elections on Tuesday. Cardi was one of the people that said, do y'all line up to vote the way you
Listen.
line up to get some chicken?
It's as typical as saying like to a kid like, do you know your homework the way you know that song? It's like, okay, we get it. It's played out though. Like we wanted some chicken. We like I like chicken. You know.
I agree that people should prioritize
Right.
in life what matters versus what doesn't.
Yeah, but
And if the chicken sandwich is too high up on your priority list,
Right.
you,
Like
need
this
to
man.
you need to refocus.
right, exactly.
Refocus.
But that's about it. You know what I'm saying? I think we're just talking about we're comparing apples and oranges with the whole voting thing. I don't think it's that serious.
but you know, at the same time, I do hear them because, mind you, I have friends that let's say fashion is their thing. They don't know everything going on, but I'm like, all right, what about what's really important?
Yeah.
They will have less of a grasp.
But I think but it just goes back to understanding that unfortunately politics is not important to a lot of people in local neighborhoods because they don't understand the importance because they don't see direct results, and that's just what it is. So to them, it's like, okay, why do I care who the president is going to be when my neighborhood still looks like this? So, you know, if I can just go to this chicken and get this chicken, I'll feel good for the moment. Like,
That's a cause they can believe in. Right?
yeah, that's a fact.
That's
And
why local.
sadly,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
That's why local elections actually are important because
Yes.
that's how you will see change closer to you. But
Yes.
this
but
is
how
all-
many people
this
know
is-
about that?
right?
You know,
yeah.
it's about
But
educating them.
this is like. This isn't binary. It's
Right.
like you can like chicken sandwiches
Right.
and vote.
Exactly.
These are separate initiatives.
Yeah.
Look, I would tend to agree. I know a lot of people. I actually wrote an article that got a lot of hits when Eddie Levert scolded black folks for lining up to get some chicken. I mean, I get he's older. I get it. Janelle
Is he on
Monáe.
a diet? Like, it's only-
Shots. Right. No, I mean, look.
Paleo.
We can always criticize people for something,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, you know, why not let us enjoy our chicken? Before we wrap up the news roundup, I also wanted to throw it back to Nicki Minaj because she actually was, again, had some controversial comments about white media. She says she prefers to be covered in the white media over, and I quote, the blacks. And I think that's
I get where she's
what,
coming from.
But
She
did
said
she
the
have?
blacks?
Yes,
Nah,
she
you don't
said.
say the in front.
She said over the blacks, and I was just like, Nick,
right here.
like maybe we couldn't understand, but why are you saying the blacks? Like, what did you think about that?
I think she's bitter, and I think because I get where she's coming from though, and unfortunately, I feel like we get burnt by our own people so much sometimes. Like I know she's had a lot of issues with like the Shade Room and all these bloggers, so I think she's comparing it to like the gossip bloggers versus what she thinks white media is, which is probably more cookie cutter. But you know, it's not fair. But I understand where she's frustrated at.
Alex?
I think you should be allowed to say whatever you want. At the same time,
Have responsibility.
I think whatever messages
Right.
you want to communicate, I
Right.
think there's a way to.
Right.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah, yeah.
The language might
Yeah,
be
that's what it
I'm
was.
more
Yeah.
because mind you, I don't see media through Nicki Minaj's lens
Right.
and how it affects her day to day.
Yeah.
So she has a gripe, I understand, but also word it a little better.
Yeah, she
Instead
coulda
of saying
cleaned it
the
up. The
blacks,
blacks.
what about our
People.
media or I mean, sheesh, it just
But would
sounds
that have made a
harsh.
difference, to be honest? Like, I feel like we would have been offended either way. It would have been like, oh, well, you don't want to be down with us?
Well, that's the thing. I leave her the room to say she deals with media on a different level. And I don't know how it affects her day to day. Because mind you, she has people that she hires that directly are dealing with this.
Yeah,
This is
that's
way bigger of an issue in her life than it is mine. That's why I leave that room. But she can have her opinion because I get it. I
Yeah.
will never understand until I'm in that seat.
Right.
At the same time, how you word the message,
Yeah.
you can
I would
organize
say-
that a little neater. You can feel how
Clean
you
it up a
feel,
bit.
but come on, talk to me nice.
Yeah.
Talk to me nice, Nikki. Sheesh.
Not the blacks that
The
support you,
blacks.
Nikki. Not the blacks that support you.
Evan?
Yeah, the blacks, like, if I just had that out of context, I'd be like, which Donald Trump rally
All right.
did that one come
She
from?
let it know she Republican.
Because I heard she said that more facetiously. I don't know if she actually is Republican.
No, she's not. But I mean,
Yeah.
in the tax bracket that she's in, she probably does benefit more
Yeah.
from
but
Republican
that's
legislation.
a nuanced
Right.
position. I don't know if she to my knowledge, she doesn't identify with Republican
no.
legislators on many things.
And she's criticized Trump.
But
Yeah.
this is the language that you'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Right. So, I mean, again, I feel sad because it's like she's always saying something that's just so off message. And
She speaks out of emotion,
She
and that's
does.
the problem. And if you can't, like, try to look past that, it's like, what the hell, Nikki?
right. It is. And we be trying to support
we
sis,
do.
but then
Yeah.
it's like, come on, girl. That being said, we are going to go on a quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to continue. We're actually going to have a conversation about T.I. checking for his daughter's hymen and this obsession. This is Let Your Voice Be Heard. Hey, Okay, and we are back. This is Let Your Voice Be Heard right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. So everyone is pretty much outraged. Not everyone. Some people actually agreeing with T.I. because he revealed on a podcast that he accompanies his 18-year-old daughter, Deja, to the gynecologist to ensure that her hymen is still intact. So when he was asked on the podcast, Ladies Like Us, about sex education for his children, he said, and I quote, "Not only have we had the conversation, we have yearly trips to the gynecologist to check her hymen. Yeah, I go with her, and I will say, as of her 18th birthday, her hymen is still intact." Now, he also acknowledged the fact that a woman's hymen can be broken outside of sexual activity, but he countered by saying, look, she don't ride no horses, she don't ride no bikes. Doc, I need you to give me back my results expeditiously, right? So this has sparked a lot of discussion about virginity tests, and which has actually been condemned by the World Health Organization, which released a statement last year saying, and I quote, "This medically unnecessary and oftentimes painful, humiliating, and traumatic practice must end." The World Health Organization states that there is no evidence that either method can prove whether a woman or girl has had vaginal intercourse or not. Meanwhile, the New York State Department of Health described these tests as, and I quote, "an assault on young women with no scientific or medical basis." And I know a lot of us saw that tweet from Planned Parenthood. They said, I don't know who needs to hear this, but virginity is a made-up social construct, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your hymen. Some people think that they can tell if someone's had sex before if their hymen is stretched open, but that is not the case. So on today's episode of Let Your Voice Be Heard, we're going to talk about virginity testing in 2019 and question why women's bodies, we don't have autonomy over our bodies and we don't have that agency. So I want to actually start with you, Alex, and ask, did T.I. cross the line?
I absolutely. When I saw the interview, I felt so bad for his daughter because let's put her in the forefront. Like, she didn't deserve to have her business put out there like that. You know what I mean? I respect him as a parent being concerned with his child's health. I will never try to step between that, but putting her personal sexual business out there like that, I thought to myself, how did that girl feel when did one of her friends come tell her, oh, I heard on the, like, how did she get the news? Or did he come home and she look at him like, Daddy, seriously? It's one thing that's already happening. Who knows if she's even comfortable with that. Another thing for him to put that out there to the world, I feel like he crossed the line.
Absolutely. And I think that what bothered me the most is the fact that he said, yes, we have conversations, but I also take her to the gynecologist. So I said, why don't you trust your daughter? And to me, there's a whole social phenomenon of not trusting and believing women. So that was my biggest issue. Evan, what did you think about it?
Oh, I got so many issues with this. And Stan and I both wrote each of our pieces on letsnotbetrash.com covering different aspects. But for many of the reasons you and Alex mentioned, I mean, I felt bad for the daughter. She has a business put out there. Not just that, I believe she's going to college. So entering college, imagine the embarrassment and humiliation to have that on blast. And also, T.I. just put a thought in all of those boys' heads that she's going to find in college when she enters about her own sex life, which is counter to what he even wants. But this is not about her. I mean, I agree with you. I don't want to get in between parents and their concern for their children's health, but I don't see this as that. This isn't get tested. This isn't, sex ed. This is, as I told you before, it's like I did my job as a father if you're a virgin at this point. It's about him. It's not about her. It's about his idea of masculinity, of being a certain type of father. That success is within her body, and he would not hold his sons to that same standard.
Exactly.
Naledi, let us know. What did you think?
No, it was, it was crazy. I also heard that he was actually very aggressive about it, where he would put post-its on her door the day before and say, God. Oh, we have a GYN appointment. Make sure you're there like the day after her birthday or something like that. Also, apparently that when like comments that were being made about it being invasive and things like that. She was liking all these comments. So it's clear that she's uncomfortable about it. I agree with you 110%. I feel like he's projecting his own misogynistic ways, to be honest, onto his daughter. And it's like, well, I'm going to make sure you're a virgin. And I feel like that's what a lot of fathers do, and they feel like it's about being protective and I'm being a great father. But it's usually the fathers that dog women on a regular. You see how he treats his wife. He not only that, but he's hella sexist, where now he allows his son, though, to lose his virginity at, 14? And you had nothing to say about that, but you're checking on your daughter's vagina. That's sick. That's really weird.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Stanley actually wrote a piece on Let's Not Be Trash called T.I. Doesn't Understand How Women's Bodies Work. And he wrote, and I quote, T.I. would probably beam with pride if he found out one of his sons was having sex. That's because society has put an unfair expectation for women to protect their virginity at all costs. Meanwhile, boys are encouraged to start having sex as soon as they can and as often as they want. And I feel like that is definitely the case here. But, you know, and I agree with you guys wholeheartedly, but not everyone does. So Jeannie Mai, who is the host of The Real, she says she agreed with T.I., and she said if her she alluded, and I am paraphrasing, she said if her father had taken her to get that type of test, she would have waited even longer. Naledi, what do you think about some people and some women saying, you know what, this is what we got to do to protect our girls?
Fatherless pick-me's. I don't know. I feel like those are people that have no proper balance in life, and so they go to the other extreme where it's like, well, if I had a dad, you know, I wouldn't mind him checking on my vagina every day. Like, that's just weird. And it's like you going from one extreme to the next. It's about balance. Exactly what you said earlier, where it's like the most disturbing part is he has these conversations. So is that not enough? It's like now you just want authority over her body parts, and that's the part that's disturbing about it. Like, no one is saying that a father-daughter's relationship shouldn't be about him teaching her and guiding her into the proper way of being responsible, but I just wish mostly, too, that men would keep that same energy with their boys that are preying on the same women that they keep trying to protect.
Well, before you go, Evan, Aunt Lewis left another comment on Facebook Live. He says 12,000 kids catch HIV every year. 1 in 5 girls have been sexually assaulted.
Exactly.
So he was actually putting some stats down. I mean, and I'm not saying he's for or against it, but I do think the reality is children, especially those who are under 18, don't make the best decisions when they're about sex, right? I don't agree with the means to do that, but I do think that, you know, a lot of parents, T.I. probably one of them, it's concern, and it could be love, but however, it's masked in misogyny. Hold on, Alex, you're shaking your head. I know everyone wants to. What do you think about that? Go ahead.
Now I got something else to say.
I think that premise you just tossed out there, a lot of people below 18 are making bad decisions about. Everybody's making bad decisions.
Yeah,
so let's just start there. And then my thing is too. It beckons this question: what are you going to do if she wasn't a virgin?
Right.
What are you going to do?
Like, what happens if her hymen is ripped?
What you're going to beat her back together? You're going to kick her out of the house?
Right.
What's going to happen?
You don't love her as much. She's not as much.
And let's think about this. Does this necessarily keep her from engaging in sexual activity? Or does this girl start to now explore her sexuality through oral, anal? Does her sexuality begin there? Because, okay, I know he's policing this, but I still have urges. I try other things.
So Evan, Ant actually clarified his stance. He says that's enough reason for his action. He just needs to place the same actions on his sons. So basically, it sounds like what Ant. Hold on. It sounds like what he's saying is HIV is a real thing. STDs are a real thing. Children. Well, go ahead, Evan. Go ahead.
That's not what he's checking for. He's checking to see if she's a virgin.
Right. Exactly. It's not. He's not
talking about the same thing here.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to say that I also wrote, and I quoted Stanley and I's pieces kind of intersected, but I also included comments he made to his wife Tiny, where he said, I think I can say this, that quote unquote, to paraphrase, as part of our marriage contract, that little sex box is mine. Half of it is mine, which shows a lot of ownership of his wife. And
possession.
It's different than saying, like, how when couples say, "Oh, that behind is mine," or something like, I won't say what it actually is, because I think it's an acute way, and it could be their dynamic. That's not how he was saying it. He was saying almost like an obligation, a contractual. All I want to say is, when you put his comments to his wife, which is it's her mother.
Yeah. No, it's not her mother.
Well, it's still a
But
stepmother
still, yeah.
and a important woman in her life.
Yeah.
And the comments he makes to her. What I was writing is that all of this adds up to love equals control.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's going to find a man. If she's straight, she's going to find a man. There's no doubt about that. One day she's going to date. One day she's going to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
All you're doing as a man is send the type of example of what that type man going to be. And is it the type that you would want dating her? The type of man you're treating her?
And that's
Probably
usually
not.
what it is. He knows, most men know, I wouldn't want my daughter to end up with a me. They try to control the situation, everything around it. And so even to the whole thing about STDs or whatever the case is, the goal is to teach sexual education, not to prevent sex. Mm-hmm. That's the whole goal.
Absolutely. And I know we do have to take a quick break, but I agree wholeheartedly. T.I. has glorified promiscuity throughout his artwork.
Right,
for how many? So and women that it seems like he doesn't want his daughter to be like. So I'm like, the hypocrisy is so real. Not only you not putting the same standards on your son, you don't even put it on yourself.
Exactly.
And you're telling everyone else that they should be a certain other way through your art. So it is like, I think he has to, I respect him as an artist, but I would hope that he would use this as a time of reflection. Speaking of that, we do have to go on a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk about how these societal norms and standards of virginity has affected us, as people. I want to get a little personal. This is Let Your Voice Be Heard. And we are back. This is Let Your Voice Be Heard right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. So Stanley Fritz just chimed into the discussion we're having on T.I. He left a comment on Facebook Live. He says, would T.I. go to these lengths with his sons? Absolutely not. Additionally, those virginity tests have proven to be emotionally harmful to women and girls. This ish is wrong, period. I 100% agree. And I think that, even like myself, as a woman, as a girl, I felt those same type of pressures. I remember one time when I was at the gynecologist with my mom there, and she did a full check, and then she just voluntarily was like, oh, don't worry, your daughter's still a virgin. And I just, in that moment, I kind of felt like, really? Like, it was just like, my mom was like, okay, thanks for letting me know. And I was just like, it did kind of feel like it was violating. And I know that it didn't sit well with me, but I didn't have the ability to articulate why. And I think, and the thing is, because these tests, there isn't a comparable test for men, it's basically saying that it's only unacceptable for women to have sex outside of marriage or to explore their sexuality, but it's not for men. Naledi, did you have any type of experiences growing up where you felt a pressure about, the whole virginity concept?
I kind of had a similar experience when I was at the GYN. It was my GYN that used to always ask me, and I guess my hymen was pretty ruptured, so he would always pressure me, like, are you sure you're a virgin? Are you sure? Are you sure? And it's like, first of all, you're not my dad. You're not my dad. But it was super uncomfortable, and it felt like, well, why are you clocking my virginity? And then after that, as I started to sexually explore it, for me, it's always been about this is just simply my business. So it never felt like I wanted to have conversations with other people as far as what I did with my body. So I don't know. I feel like there is this weird standard that women aren't allowed to explore sexually. I actually had this discussion not too long ago where this is why men and women don't see eye to eye when it comes to relationships. Men feel pressured that women want to be in relationships, and it's usually because women don't get the luxury of exploring and dating and having that phase where we're just kind of learning what we want the way men do, because men can date as frequently as they want to, but if a woman even dates another guy, it's like, oh, she's a, H word or anything else. And it's unfair because we don't get that luxury to date and not feel attached to one person that we're dealing with.
That's a great point. And you said that's why, a lot of women do pressure guys to be in a relationship because they don't want to be seen as a whore. Yeah. Like, it's like you
got to be wifey material or whatever it is.
Evan, what type of societal pressures did you have, if any, when it comes to virginity? And on the opposite side, it's like men are told lose it as quick as possible.
Exactly, and that affects us too. I mean, that's a pressure too, that you're not enough of a man or fulfilling masculinity or a certain type of masculinity until this happens. I'll try to condense the experience I had. It was actually a friend's mom, and she told me it was as me and this other girl, like my first girlfriend, were about to break up, and her friends brought us to her mom for like reconciliation. It was like some like freshman year Maury type situation. Anyway, that was a whole other story. But the mom sat down and she was like, the man must have experience. The woman doesn't need to. And I'm like, I'm 15. And I'm learning algebra and like all this. I don't see why it's so necessary for me as a 15-year-old at that time, though some men did have that experience by then, and that's their own journey, for that to make me enough of a man. But then the woman doesn't need to. I'm thinking, but in order for me to do this, somebody breaking a rule, right? In order for me to have that experience, somebody's daughter is going to be having it earlier. So, and that showed me that patriarchy and ideas of masculinity can come from women, not just men. Because the first time this was told to me that clearly was from a woman.
Yes. No, I agree.
Alex, what experiences, and thank you for sharing that personal story. Did you feel pressure to lose, quote unquote, lose your virginity, Alex, as a man?
No. I didn't. That's the thing. Since I was younger, I always marched to the beat of what I feel was my own drum. Because early on, where I feel like I started to hear or talk about sex, it was, let's say, junior high. And it's like at that age, dudes be lying. Dudes just straight lying. Like these kids, and they be I'm like, I don't believe y'all. And my thing is, when I started to have my experiences, I didn't feel the need to broadcast it to nobody.
Exactly.
I was happy and comfortable knowing what I was doing. If nobody else knew, perfect.
But you brought up a good point. You said that the other young boys were literally boasting and bragging about it. And I remember in 6th grade, where I was in private school at the time, and our class, they were doing a lot of sexual experimenting at that time. And the boys were like bragging about getting fellatio, but the girl they were doing it with, they stigmatized her as being a whore. So Alex, like, I think that kind of like plays into what you were saying, that I think that sometimes the experiences we have, they may not be as direct, but that influence is still happening. Naledi?
I actually want to bring up a point, too, as far as younger men and older women. That's another thing. Like, we kind of push younger men to have sex with older women, and we don't look at it as molestation when it's actually molestation. That happens.
Like even Chris Brown said.
Yeah, we glorify it.
Yeah,
we glorify our 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 14-year-old boys to be with women that are over 18, 19, 20, and we don't look at it the same way, and then we wonder why our boys become womanizers, and it's because in their heads, at the age of 10, they really thought they finessed the panties off this grown-ass woman.
And they get... right, and they get put on this pedestal at this young age sometimes.
And so they become womanizers, honestly.
Yeah, older women used to hit on me, and it wasn't until I started Let's Not Be Trash and Talk with Stanley that I was like, oh, that was inappropriate. Because at the time, I was like, that's hilarious. I didn't think it could happen. Yeah. You know what I mean?
We don't look at it that way. Yeah, we don't look at it that way. We often don't. And it's honestly like, bro, you've been molested, bro. You might need therapy as much as any young woman that has been molested.
How did you look at it, Alex?
Well, when I was younger, I definitely told myself I didn't like to look at age as a limitation for me. Not to say I was dating that much older, but I just thought I was dope. So I was like, any woman that I can connect with, or I think is cool, or they think I'm cool, I'm like, look.
But how old were you when you had that thought process, though? Because you're not going to be 10, 12 thinking you really could finesse some grown-ass woman. That's my whole thing.
I say maybe around 16, 17. 16, 17, I started to, feel myself a little bit. So I'm looking at a woman that's 21. I'm like,
That's
so
not,
what?
but that's
the thing.
not
At
the
that
same,
age, they
though.
start to be like, little boy. They start to hit you with that.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, stop playing with me. Like, are you serious? Like,
Well, just to,
Yeah.
I kind
playing
of
with
think, just to reel things back in, I kind of think that, the concept of virginity and like this purity, it kind of needs to change at this point.
Yeah.
I've actually watched a documentary and read about how there's a thing called purity balls where it usually happens with a lot of white people where white fathers will take their daughters to a purity ball and celebrate the fact that she is a virgin, and he will make her wear a ring. It's called a purity ring. And basically what these young girls are doing is they're vowing to keep their virginity sacred to their father up until, I guess, yes, this is a thing. So in our culture, it's manifest in one way, but this is happening a lot in different ways.
So they vow their virginity to their dad?
Yes,
That's
until marriage.
creepy,
You've heard of
bro.
it.
I've heard of purity rings and things like that. I didn't know they had. I didn't understand the full spectrum of it, but I have heard of like purity rings and celebrating their daughter's virginity. But like, whoa, like that's it's too much pressure on women to like have to be this token that men want. And then it's crazy because men don't even know what they want, to be honest. They want someone that's experienced, but then yet a virgin. Like, make it make sense.
I think, ladies, you shouldn't even allow a man to define it.
Absolutely.
Whatever you want to do.
Well, you say that now, but if you're being socialized as a young girl and basically their worth is attached to their purity and their virginity, Evan, I want you to chime in. Is this a healthy concept to be teaching young girls?
Of course not. Of course not. Women are so much more than that, and you wonder how so much self-esteem in women is hurt at such a young age. It's because it's tied to their sexuality, not all the other things. Boys have so many other qualities that are used for their confidence and the type of man they are. That's not involved with their sexuality, although I do believe there are pressures, but it's the opposite pressure to have more of it. But it almost dehumanizes women to just their bodies. It contributes to objectification to make them feel like so much of their worth is based on their virginity.
I think men's value or worth is attached to how much they can provide, and a woman's value and worth is attached to their sex.
And to your point, Naledi, even we hear the expression, I want a lady in the street, but a freak in the streets. Yeah. It is very confusing. Yeah. It's like, how are you supposed to be a freak in the streets if you supposed to be a freak in the sheets, and if you're not supposed to have a reputation of being experienced? So how in the world is someone supposed to learn how to be a freak if they are also supposed to be protecting their reputation? Yeah. We actually have to wrap this conversation up, but I want to get your final thoughts on the concept of virginity, how we can redefine it and start to promote healthy ideas around sex, especially when it comes to our young people and our young girls. Naledi?
As far as virginity, I just feel like having the conversations of responsible and healthy sex, understanding the exchange, more so raising our children to be more aware of their own values. And so when they're in exchange with other people, they don't feel like the only thing they have to offer is sex, or you know what I'm saying, or as if they do offer sex, it's not like devalued in any type of way. Because I feel like even to like relationships get complicated, because I don't know, I just feel like relationships even get complicated when you put so much focus on sex and so much emphasis on sex, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like just teach our kids to be more responsible as far as sex goes, but it shouldn't be something that's demonized or shamed for women especially.
Alex, your final thoughts on what we need to do to promote healthy ideas around sex?
It's tough. I don't got the answer, Sway, but I will say this. I would encourage people to not police if they're having sex, just make sure they're as knowledgeable as possible about the different scenarios and the consequences that come with these acts. I think that, just making them aware of sexual health, their risk of pregnancy, how that could affect their lives. Just make them aware, and then from there, you got to set them free. But you can't police them.
And you're talking about children? Just educate them.
Educate them as best you can.
And then let them go.
Educate them as best you can. Put the best you can in there. And then you got to set them free to be their own person.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Evan, we're wrapping up. What needs to be done to promote healthy ideas around sex and also around women?
Well, I agree with Alex. This should start early. Like, if we're talking about it, and I had the same thing, kids were talking about fellatio when they were, in the 6th grade, first time using a computer and dial-up internet. And they were talking about that, and they didn't know half the stuff they were talking about and the consequences of it. So if they're talking about that young, we shouldn't say, like, celibacy. No, they're talking about that young. We got to reach them that young.
Education.
On top of that, we should not tie virginity to a woman's worth. That's extremely important. And I also think that we should talk about the concepts of consent as much as we do other aspects of sexual health, because a lot of boys know how to not get chlamydia. They don't know about consent. Exactly. And they need to know about the different importance of that as well.
Thank you so much, guys. I just want to wrap things up by saying, this whole idea of losing one's virginity, we even need to change the rhetoric around it. Like, why are we saying lose? Like, at the end of the day, no one can take your virginity. Like Evan said, you need to consent. And we need to start empowering young girls to make these decisions. And, like Alex said, it is about education, because I remember my mom said, and, some of the things she said was clear. Other things were a little problematic, but she said, once you're ready to start having sex, let me know so we can put you on birth control. However, in the same breath, I was also taught that don't have sex too much, too early, or with too many people. So it was like, you're definitely getting mixed views. And I do think that it's because of the way women are socialized to be like these pure little princesses. But the reality is that women are human beings. And women have, sexual urges, and to not really be taught that and to understand that it's okay to want to have sex as a girl, that really conflicted me growing up, especially in college. Like, I didn't know. I was just like, why do I feel like this? And it was because, no, I didn't know.
Seriously.
No, because being taught the opposite from both of my parents. And it's like, okay, well, I really wanted to live up to that standard. And I put an unrealistic standard on my life at that time. And once it was broken, I was devastated.
You almost want to punish yourself for masturbation. Like,
it was so heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking. So I think that, with us having us having this knowledge as millennials, once we become parents, make sure we educate our children to understand what sex is and how to have it in a responsible and safe way. On that note, I do want to thank everyone who chimed into the show today and everyone who listened. Be sure to check us out and actually support us on patreon.com/BeHeardRadio. And we'll see you again next week.
True hurts needed something more.